The BIPOC Coach Collective proudly presents Elevate and Celebrate. This is a podcast to showcase our members, dive deeper into their journeys, and express who they are into the world. Our mission is to curate a brave and authentic space for coaches to connect and to elevate our voices globally in the coaching profession. Learn more about us at bipocc.org. Your story matters, your voice matters. Let's start the show. Welcome to this month's episode of Elevate and Celebrate. This is the Vice President of the BIPOC Coach Collective, Alex Dumas here, and our special guest this month is Nicole Chamblin. She's one of our lovely members, someone here who's facilitated a call where she helped us learn about leveraging our credentials in order to grow our businesses, to build up our coaching practice. In this conversation, you're going to hear her journey from dealing with cancer, right, overcoming that as a survivor, her background in Jamaica, her parents and her family overall, their entrepreneurial spirit, how they influenced her, and even a little bit of how she was an introvert or how she sees herself as an introvert, but she's also been able to leverage that and working with high profile clients and leaders in executive spaces and support them on their journeys. I'm so excited for you to hear what she has to say and internalize. So this is kind of another masterclass of sorts because she's not somebody who just does things, right? She's very intentional. She's very purposeful. And within that intention, within that purpose, you can hear someone with a lot of power, a lot of fun, a huge spirit, enthusiasm out the wazoo, but sharp, decisive, clear. And when you hear that from her, you're just gonna fall in love with her. So for you out there who are listening and just to give you some updates on what's coming up, we've got our next facilitation call coming up on the 15th. So if you're a member of the collective, Premier Executive, make sure you tap into that, register for that. And then we have our open house coming up on March 29th. That's a Friday, 12 to 1, both calls. So that's open to the public. If you want to check us out, if you're kind of on the fence, you've maybe attended a networking call here and there in the past, you want to just reconnect with us, doors are open. So the 29th, open to the public, make sure you tap in. And for members, the 15th is our next facilitation call. You're not going to want to miss that. And now we're going to start the show. We're going to elevate and celebrate Nicole Chamblin. All right, we are here. Let's rock and roll. Nicole, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Oh my goodness. So we've had some fun offline conversations. So I'm so excited for the world to hear and see what we create and what magic is going to pop out of this. So I want to say again, thank you for being here. And to kick this off, I could read an intro about you. I could do all this stuff and yada, yada, yada. But you are a powerful creator. So I'd love for you to speak yourself into the room. And who are you? Who is Nicole Chamblin?
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you very much. Gotta have you as my wingman where we go, like just powerful creator.
Yeah.
In other spaces, I always lead off with, well, I'm a leadership and team coach, but we're with our folks, we're with our peeps. So I'm just going to talk about who I am. At the heart of it all, I'm all about helping people be bigger, better versions of themselves tomorrow, whatever that is. So I love learning. I will always have my nose in a book or checking out a class or considering another certification. That's just me. So I'm always looking forward to learning about other people, learning different perspectives, leaning in. So from a business perspective, I'm a solopreneur. I just completed 18 and a half years in business, which is crazy to say because I'm only 20 myself. Right? So
Roughly.
Yeah, roughly. But my business has been a journey. I started, doing a lot of organizing and productivity consulting. And that led me into a space where, as I worked with my clients, I realized no matter what I did in their physical space, working with their files or workflows or whatever, it was the stuff that was going on between their ears that was like the challenge, right? The mindset and just how they worked. And that led me to a path that ultimately brought me where I am today as a leadership coach and a mindset coach. Productivity is always kind of that underlying thing for me. I'm about performance and results, but doing so in a way that is uplifting, is energetic, that's not like dragging us down and draining. And that idea of thriving and, always leveling up, but in a positive way, kind of is the underpinning for all the work that I do with my clients. So I do on the training side, I'm a corporate trainer. I focus on what it takes for them as individuals and organizations and teams to connect with their vision, communicate with confidence, and collaborate productively, whatever that looks like for them. And on the private coaching side, I'm not going to lie, I love working with introverted women leaders who are kind of burning out in silence, and in a large part because as an introvert myself, I've lived that life and it's hard. And coming out of the pandemic, especially, I've just been seeing a little bit of an uptick in folks who have to go back in a hybrid space, people who are real comfortable hiding behind that black screen on Zoom, now having to show back up, and it's just a different vibe for them. So I've been really leaning into the idea of how our styles, especially around introversion, I do disc as well. So, certain disc styles or DISC styles, I don't want people to think I'm cussing at them. How that affects the way we're showing up and how that impacts burnout. Burnout is, yes, a hot topic right now, and you're going to hear people talk about it from different aspects. But low key, I've kind of always been dealing with that. I've just, put it under the umbrella of productivity. But I want people to be able to enjoy work and then go home and enjoy their families. So that's a long roundabout way of telling you who I am.
No, that's a beautiful way to tell it. Thank you for sharing that. And I love that last piece of it, right? Enjoy your work and enjoy your family. I think those two things don't have to be separated, right? I heard this from somebody a long time ago where we were talking about entrepreneurship. And it's like, you're not a businessman with a family, like, oh, I got this family thing I got to do. No, I'm a family man with a business. I'm
Yeah,
building a business, leading and
exactly.
serving in this way. So I love what you're bringing to the table there. And one thing is very interesting for me that you said, right, that you're an introvert because I see you here. Like, I'm trying to connect the dots. Like, how is Nicole an introvert? I mean, we've had some very extensive conversations, and
It is hard work.
where's she at?
Listen, every single one of them assessments, Myers-Briggs, DISC, whatever Enneagram, I come out definitely on the introverted side, more on the introspected, reflective side. And it's again like how we recharge. So I'm introverted. I'm not shy anymore. So, you can be introvert with that shy level, and I'm raising one of those. If y'all, I'm allowed to say it now. I'm raising young Sheldon for those Big Bang Theory folks out there. That's my son, full on math brain, all of that. But I was always quiet as a kid, my nose in a book, not a lot of friends, even growing up into adulthood, like short list. My mother always, gave us that insight. And one of my networking colleagues said it best, diamond drip. I loved how she said, she's like, listen, I might be an introvert, but my business is not.
Mm,
And that's really something that I have to continually remind myself, right? I get those tendencies just like everybody else, like I'm gonna go hide back here. But if I'm in the business truly of helping other people, and if I want them to hire me back as a speaker, if I want them to bring me back to work with their coach, I have to figure out how to build rapport, I have to connect with them, how to engage with them, how to bring them into the conversation. And I look at it all as a conversation. So I've really done a lot of work around how to pull back. I think about it as, back in the days, you go to the club and there's that red velvet rope and somebody pulls that rope back and you get to walk into the VIP area.
yeah.
I have done just a lot of practice around how to pull that rope back faster, in the sense that let Alex get to know who is Nicole, right, as a human being. So you can decide, do I want to hang with her? Do I want to collaborate with her? Do we vibe? Would I refer her to somebody else? If you don't get a chance to get to know me, none of that happens. And the business I've built has been with intent, because I used to work way back when I was 2 in marketing and advertising. And I was in New York City ad agencies. And no joke, I was on the road all the time.
Mm,
I remember as a newlywed having a bag packed, half packed, and I would go to work and they'd be like, we need you here. And I would call my husband when I got home and say, babe, I'm going to be gone for the next 3 days, gone for the next week, gone for the whatever.
yeah.
And I remember that moment of realization for me. We had just bought a new house and I walked through the living room and it was like 3 weeks that I realized I had not sat in my couch. And I was like, how is it possible that I picked that couch out? Like, with just joy and thinking about, and I had not sat on that couch. And that was what made me look at like, well, how do I want to shift my energy in my life? And I had to figure out how to build a business that was sustainable. And a lot of the work I've done is just around that. Like as an introvert, how do I show up as a business owner? How do I collaborate with other people? And how do I make sure I recharge my batteries so that I can do it again tomorrow? And there are times I hide. If I'm at a conference, I always have a room to myself. I'll hang out with you at the fire pit. I'll chill with you, in the lounge. But I need a space, a quiet space to go back and be quiet and recharge and reflect and like get stuff out of my head.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And I don't, for me, I don't see that as hiding, right? Because I'm a pretty outgoing guy, a little bit moderately communicative with people. But even at events like myself, I'm with my wife, yeah, I'm definitely in a room by myself because I need that moments to recharge and
Mm-hmm.
reflect and silence, right? Maybe I'm an extrovert introvert. I don't know, introverted extrovert, whatever you want to call it.
Or
But
an ambivert, you could be like right in that middle. But
yeah,
I definitely am on the introvert scale.
I'm curious about this. I'm going to stay on this thread because it's fascinating for me. And maybe you might have the answer that I'm thinking of, but I'm curious of how that idea of yourself as an introvert and just what you describe as how you were growing up, right? In books, not many friends, really close connections. How do you think that served you now as a coach, as a leader, with connecting with teams and other clients?
What I there's a course I teach about communication tips, lessons from an introvert. And I try to tap into my introverted superpowers, right? Deep listening, the ability to be analytical and reflective, looking at things through a unique perspective because I'm turning it around in my head a couple of different ways. And also recognizing recognizing like. So inviting clients into space, creating a safe space where people who normally don't speak up or share out their thoughts have a safe space that they can bring forward an idea in front of their team. And more often than not, my clients that I've been working with a lot, again, like it seems to attract, like I've done a lot of work with groups, scientists or but engineers keep finding me, including the one that I'm growing. I'm raising an engineer, right? Doing a lot of work with people who are very left brain, very analytical, very in their head, and helping them figure out how to step into that leadership role, right? I love to tell folks that we all have a leader within. Everyone is capable of being a great leader. But what I've seen is my clients who skew more introverted, skew more SC on the DISC scale, oftentimes get overlooked because they're not going to, promote themselves. They're not going to
Yeah,
stand up in the front of the room the way everyone else. But if you sit down and have conversations with them, they're introspective, they're deep, they're insightful, they have incredible awareness. And so as a coach working with those kind of clients, I love helping them figure out how to still show up at the front of the room, show up as leaders in ways that are true to themselves. Like I once had someone tell me as an introvert, "Joel, just act like an extrovert." And I shrank inside because it's like the idea is exhausting,
right.
right? And there's already so much making us tired at work. Like we're all doing so much more with less and all of that. That the work I do with my clients is how do you show up in your true self without acting like, something else that you're not and adding to your burnout or adding to your stress. So it's really been helpful for me because I low-key consider myself that introvert champion when I walk into that space. And at the same time, because I've learned how to kind of amp up the energy, if I'm taking a stage or if I'm leading at the front of a room or if I'm working with clients, I've had some clients that are just like full on extrovert, and I can create that space of reflection for them as well so that they can do the work that they need to do as well. Like, I love helping folks wherever they are, but my introverted clients seem to find me.
No,
And I'm cool with that.
yeah, that's fine. Like you said, like attracts like, and I love that hybrid you're able to build with them, right? Of folks who like I would say they want to show the work, right? They're not talkers like, "Meh," like
Mhm.
loud and boisterous. It's like,
Yeah.
no, no, like this is what I do. This is how I help, right? They're not going to necessarily promote them, but you said yourself, like you're a champion for them. And I love that you get to draw that connection of not just about the numbers, the X's and O's, but
Mhm.
with leadership, it's outside of being a parent or a spouse, it's the most complicated relationship because what do we have to deal with? People are not numbers, unfortunately.
Listen, I call them the work children sometimes. Like, you know, I've had clients that we all have them, and it's like, some folks are quiet leaders, and how do we tap into that? How do we get them to grow more into that? I love helping folks see that different isn't wrong. When you think about diversity, and a lot of great organizations are doing a lot of work around diversity. And what I've really been excited to see, at least at some of my client groups, is that they've expanded, really have done the work to expand it beyond just gender. And let me not do that qualifier. I don't, let's take just out of that. They've done the work to expand it beyond gender, age, race. And they're looking at, neurodivergent thinkers,
Yeah.
cultural styles, thinking styles. And it's just created a lot of really great conversation in the workplace. And folks who normally wouldn't have had a chance to shine are leading roundtables in their organization or stepping into space and given an opportunity to give their opinion in a room that they normally would not have been invited into. So the work that I do, especially with those conversations around communication styles and introversion, extroversion, personality styles, if you will, helps to create that space also for other people to rise and to thrive.
Mm, yeah. Now it's gonna be a little bit tough because you were young back then, right? You're only two when
Mhm.
you started
Yeah.
doing this work. But I'm curious to see in your lens, right? What's been the difference or the shift from 18 years ago to where leaders are right now? Like what does that look like in
Mm.
their styles or just how they're relating to their teams?
When I look at, I look at it in a couple of leaps, right? My corporate life and what I observed of the leaders that I worked with and experienced, when I first got that promotion to like a directorship, right?
Yeah.
And then the leap into business owners and working with other business owners. What I think is really beautiful is that there is space for vulnerability as leaders
Mm,
that did not always exist. I came up, in a work growth in very autocratic leadership styles, very direct communication styles. Huge personalities were the ones that won the room, right?
mm,
And I've really been seeing opportunities for folks to be vulnerable, to tap into the soft skills, like as coaches, we know are so vital
yeah.
to anyone's growth. And that space is created there. And how I see that, it's the funding, organization sponsored work around mentorship and coaching, requirements. I have one client that their requirement for folks who are moving into a certain tier of leadership, they have to be coached.
Yeah.
Right. They fund it. It's important from the very top down. Everyone in leadership has a coach. They have formalized mentoring programs where leaders can have a safe space and like somebody who's helping them guide, and they can open up and say, well, here's what I'm strong at. Because as leaders, traditionally, what I used to always see was people like, well, I'm good at this. And that's what they run with, right? But they would never stand in front of a room and be like, hey, listen, that's not my wheelhouse. So I'm going to tap into a subject matter expert, right? Even our languaging, like now referencing people as subject matter experts, has
Yeah.
given folks a chance to say, I can specialize here and still be a leader instead of having to be good at everything and this feeling like I got to show up and act like I'm great at everything.
Yeah.
Now there's a vulnerability that people can say, well, I'm not really as good at that. I'm learning, I'm working, or this is your expert here, or I'm your person for this. So I love that because now there's more room at that table.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I heard from that. More opportunities for collaborations, right? If in my case, right, in this organization, I'm kind of the video content kind of guy. But if you're thinking about like the logistical, financial things, like kind of nitty gritty things, like that's not my strength. I don't got that. But that's not something I'm fortunate enough and blessed enough that I have people around me that we can leverage and lean on, right? And I love that idea that you shared with the leadership. Like that's a lot of pressure. Like I got to know it all.
Yeah,
I got to be on no matter what I'm on. If someone asks a question about this, I got to know it. And
exactly.
now it's actually opened up space of I don't need to know that. I
Mhm.
need to hire somebody who knows that.
Exactly. And bring more people to the table and take that pressure off. Exactly that. Like it was I remember thinking of my time in advertising as being in a pressure cooker
Hmm.
constantly. And the release of no, like, especially as a business owner, I don't love that. Outsource it. Perfect. You're my go-to. You're my go-to. And you shed the things that you don't so you can stand in what you love. Now I'm seeing that entrepreneurship idea, right? So inside the organization, it's entrepreneurship. And I love seeing that people rise up who it's like, wow, that's one to watch. They're really great. They can go deep in vertical in one area. They're that subject matter expert that people are calling into meetings. And so you see things like people at different levels sitting at the table with the GM or with executive office who would never have walked into that room except to like hand in a piece of paper. They're at the table. And I'm thinking of this one client that I've been working with now. I've done so much work with them. It's been coming up on 10 years. And
Wow.
it's been great. It started as a training client. I call them like my ideal client and I use them as a model for, well, how do I want to build relationships? It's really strategic partnership. I consider myself as an extension of their learning and OD team. So I'm looking at it from all angles with them. So I've been able to see how as an organization they've grown and changed as learning and OD has been allowed to like lead culture shifts and actually do the things that it's supposed to do. And how folks who would never in a million years have thought that they would walk into those doors, right? Sitting at that table in the admin conference room, just like
Right.
everybody else.
It's that movie idea like it's dark in there and you're like every step is echoed and it's
Mhm.
like, what do you want?
Yeah. It's just shifting and different, but it's because we're opening up our idea of what a successful leader is and can be.
Yeah.
And I think that's just so awesome to see for the next generation, especially of leaders.
Yeah. I'm fascinated for you because you have this dual, I don't want to say strikes, but I'll just use the word strikes in this case, right? You're a woman and you're a woman of color, right? And breaking into this space. So kind of now going back to when you were just a baby, 2 years old, right? How have you seen that reception of BIPOC coaches in a leadership role or working with executives, working with leaders been as opposed to when you started and kind of having to trailblaze, kick a door in a bit?
So it's interesting. As soon as you said that, what came back to me is one thing a lot of folks don't know about me right off the bat, but they learn soon enough is I'm Jamaican. And as a Jamaican, culturally, we were always taught, first of all, um, born in Jamaica, raised by a very strong entrepreneurial family. I look back and I'm realizing how much entrepreneurship is a part of my family's culture, as much as our Jamaican culture is. So we were always taught to walk in a room and, who cares who else is in the room? You make sure you do your best. We had those, where's the other 2 points parents when you brought home that 98? And, right, you know what I'm talking about. Love you, mommy and daddy.
Yeah.
But we, there's something about that upbringing for me that, especially also because of the diversity of my family.
Hmm.
And when I say the diversity of my family, if you were to line us all up, we could like do the shifting shades, even within my immediate family, right? Like I laugh when I tell people, I'm like, yeah, I'm the darkest of my siblings. And they're like, huh? I'm like, yeah, right. And I have like, I'm right in the middle of the spectrum of our family. So we have that diversity and we're used to diversity. And why that's important for me is that I've never walked into a room and felt less than because, oh my gosh, my husband and I used to joke, this is going to be a little bad, but we used to say, were you the only spot on the carpet in the meeting today? you know, and that was our little code for talking about being in spaces. But he and I both grew up, he went to school in New York, both grew up in non-diverse environments, let's call it that, right?
Yeah.
Like I was on my college's multicultural magazine when they were trying to recruit folks back in the day. I'm no lie. So now, I've never let that stop me from going into space. And yes, I'm sure there were those folks that were like, oh, they look and they judge you because they see the color of your skin and they assume that you're not going to be good.
Right.
And my approach is, I don't care what your thought is or how you're thinking about it. I'm going to walk in that room and do me. And because my, gymnastics, martial arts, Jamaican mindset from back in the day of you're going to learn to do this and you're going to excel and you're going to do it to your best ability, right? We called it presentation in gymnastics. If you've ever watched gymnasts, how they salute the judges, right? We call that presentation. Like you walk into the room and you own the floor.
Yeah.
That has always been like, okay, you're going to do this until you know that you have this, right? Have that confidence in myself first. Even if I'm nervous, I'm not going to let you see that. I'm going to walk in and show that. So that's how I've walked in the room. And in that, the reason I say that is because then conversations happen a little differently.
Yeah.
And I've had conversations with my clients who are people of color or who are champions for advocating for diversity in their organizations. And what I'm seeing and what I love seeing is that they're actively seeking out and making sure, even if they don't have supplier diversity requirements, for example, like certain organizations, federal government agencies have.
Yeah.
They're very intentional about making sure there's representation at all levels of the organization, in leadership, in their facilitators, in even down to their graphics, right? And so as a coach and a woman of color walking into the room, what I've seen and I've loved is greater diversity in leadership, greater diversity in the HROD and the human resources and organizational development departments that are bringing in coaches, that are doing the hiring, that are doing the recruitment, so that the organizations are starting to be more reflective of the environments that they're in. Greater awareness in their value statements to say that they want to be reflective of the communities that they serve.
Yeah.
And that's been really exciting for me to see. It's, not forced. It's truly becoming embedded.
Yeah. Yes. And the company's DNA.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's not just I was listening to a book earlier today and they said companies where all they have is like that mission statement on the wall, but you don't see it in action anywhere, right? Like it's just these words that they say in their head. You can always tell the difference. And when it's in their DNA, they don't need to put it on a poster. And that really struck me as interesting. It's like, okay, I see that.
Yeah. Yeah. You touched on a little bit of it with your upbringing, right? Of just owning the room, being confident. And I'm fascinated. I want to learn. Were there any other lessons you learned watching your folks in their entrepreneurship journey of like what's influenced you, right? What's in your DNA now as a leader?
Oh man. My mom is my first mentor. I've watched her thrive in a perfect example for me. When I was 12, my family, we were in New York. And so it's right after Christmas, the week before, between Christmas and just a couple of days, just a couple of days after New Year's. We were in an apartment that was meant to be temporary, right? My parents were working on buying a house. We had to leave where we were. So it was just like one of those little, we're just a pit stop.
Yeah.
There was a fire that thankfully we all survived, but we lost so much, right? And, back then there was no renter's insurance. There was, none of the things we take for granted now. And I will never forget watching my mom. So again, January in New York, they came in with the fire hose and everything got wet down and it turns into ice.
Yeah.
And I remember watching my mom chipping away at the ice to save our memories, our pictures, our mementos, birth certificates, all these things that she wanted to make sure, like, she didn't care about the stuff, like the couch or any of those other things. But it was those memories, those momentums. And every time I look at, there's a little photo album that she still has. And she had one photo album for each child. And she made sure, like, she saved it. And you can see the singes
Yeah.
around the corner of it. But the lesson I always take away from that, it's that it was daunting, right? From my 12-year-old eyes, it was absolutely daunting. Like, how is she going to get the ice free from, like,
Yeah.
I couldn't fathom it. And she just chipped at it, one little chip at a time. Like, the perseverance that she had, the commitment that she had to do that has always stayed with me. And I think that's one of the most important lessons for me that I take away as I look at the entrepreneurial lessons. I had uncles in Jamaica that were, started their own business. My mom's family started from country, right? And when I say country, I mean, like, she remembers when they put in running water country. So to see the growth of my uncles, my aunts, and what they have done, I have cousins now all over the world. And when we all get together, we all laugh because our parents all gave us the same story. We can finish the phrase, you can be anything you want to be as long as you have your education. You want to go be a garbage collector? Fine, get your education first. That's what we were all taught. And so the huge, big lessons for me was, well, if you don't know it, you can learn it. Right. And when I get curious about something, whether it's something that I've needed to learn, or I see my client struggling with something and it's like, how can I help this person? I get curious and I start learning. And that's why, like I said, I got my nose in a book. I'm always looking for something. My Kindle hides a lot of my book purchases. Thank you, Kindle. But, books are for me, like shoes are for someone else. Although I do have the shoes in the, don't tell anyone.
Yeah.
But, perseverance, you can always learn it, be curious, don't give up, and to just chip at things one little bit at a time. Like, I've used those lessons over and over and over again in my life.
Yeah. What's powerful about that is you're literally guiding my brain into this next space here, right? Of the work you've done with our collective and what you shared with us about leveraging your credentials, right, to build a business. Because I think that's something super important for coaches to hear. To not only, I'm going to say it in this way, so don't take offense, everybody out there. Don't burn me, but to get the pieces of paper, but actually apply them, to use them. So can you tell me more about how that's benefited your business?
That goes back to another lesson that my family taught me. Don't be an educated fool.
Ooh.
Right. And then the other thing that I got is from, I was in a coaching program a couple of years ago during the pandemic. And I believe they said the origin of this quote, I want to verify it, but I think it was Daryl Hardy who said, put your learning into earning. Right. Don't be smart and broke was basically the lesson I took from that. Right? So, a lot of folks out there like me, like I said, I'm drawn to learning. I always want to learn something. And one of the very first things I promised myself in my business was, okay, now the reins are off. I can learn what I want to learn. I don't need to go get permission to take this class or take whatever. But if you're going to take it, I used the lesson that I got from corporate. When I was in corporate, I remember wanting to take a course on email marketing. And I had to write a justification letter of how I was going to use it in my role for the organization to help reach the organizational goals. And I use that same approach. Like, I don't have to write the letter, but I have to sit and say, okay, you're going to take this class. You're going to take the certification. You're going to go after this. How does that translate to your business growth? Right.
Yeah.
And there's some things I take just because it's fun and I want to learn it. But if I'm really investing in it, like I have a threshold, if I'm investing in it, if it's especially time, so, you've got these 6-month programs, you've got 16 weeks of this, you've got to do the pod work or the accountability group, or, when you look at all the time that you put into it, right? If I can't turn that into a way that I'm going to leverage and grow in my business, whether it's going to help me increase my rates, or it's going to get my foot into a door, or it's going to give me a tool that I can use, then I won't do it. And what has happened in looking at it through that lens, like, how do I justify this education, this certification, whatever? First of all, where I am, and sometimes I think it's part of the seat of the government. I'm in the Washington DMV, right? I'm in Northern Virginia.
Yeah.
And a lot of federal agencies, like when you go in, and I work with a prime contractor who they go through all the, hey, we have a RFP for this or so and so for that. And you look at their requirements, right? So then you will see, oh, PCC preferred.
Right.
Okay. You'll see on my little name, I got my PCC, right? I worked towards that. Now, if they said MCC, I would keep pushing. But while I'm going to continue learning and growing and deepening in my craft,
yeah,
I have what is going to keep me in that door, right? The classes that I take, or the certifications that I take, DISC, emotional intelligence, team diagnostic, are always helping me with clients because they're tangible resources, right? You have those left brain thinkers who want, well, what do we get? Well, you're going to get this report that's like going to give you all this insight, but now I can give you a language. I can help you embed it into your culture, or we can build a program out of it. I don't want to give too much away. I'm going to like reveal how I've literally used all of that to create year-long programs with my clients and their teams.
Yeah.
Right. So now I have longevity, I have sustainability.
Yes.
I don't have to go out and chase 10 clients. If I can like go deep with one client and take a program and roll it out from team to team to team in their organization. And the more I learn in the organization, the more it embeds me in their DNA also. So when they start looking for needs, whether it's a coach or can someone come and design a class for us or whatever, my name is at the top of the list that they come and ask me.
Exactly.
So my commitment has been, if I take the class, as much as I love learning, how is it going to lead to earning? Because I have a responsibility at the end of the day to look at that, not as an expense, but an investment.
That's the mind right there, right? What's it going to cost me? No. Invest. And I love what you described, what I've, in a past sales role life I've had, we described it as taproot, right? So many people are like, I need to go wide, I need clients, no client. Can you slow down to one?
Yeah.
And how many different ways can you serve them? How many can you be a Swiss Army knife for them?
Yeah, exactly. And the other part that comes with that is when you can educate your client around the different ways that you can serve them, right? Even if it's not on your, capability statement or your learning catalog or whatever. If I had done every time my client called me and they just 2 weeks ago, hey, we got something we need, like, and they break it down and they're like, is that something you're interested in doing? Please say yes. Because, and it's literally, that was a conversation. And what's good about the building the relationship, right? I stay in my lane. I have my boundaries on. Yeah, if it's enough, if it's close enough, if it's in the wheelhouse, and I feel like, okay, maybe I can expand the walls.
Right.
But I have my own internal litmus test for, does this meet my capabilities? Can I I want to under promise and over deliver on results with this client.
Yes.
With all my clients. So there are times I've told them no, like what they asked me for, I was like, I gotta tell you no, because that's not my wheelhouse, but I can help you find someone that, can do that.
Right.
And that respects them more. And that also comes from knowing, some of the earning that I've done, it's that sales work, that marketing work, that, strategic thinking, my working with my own coach, like that's another level of investment that I've done. And you have to look at it that way and figure out, like, how do I translate this into a line of service or something that I can deliver to my clients? In my mind, I'm like, how many clients will it take to pay for this certification? Okay, good. I can do that easy.
Yeah. I love that. I love that mentality. And this kind of drawn back to something we talked about earlier about the collaboration, right? If there's something you don't necessarily know or doesn't light you up, well, guess what? We have this beautiful community of BIPOC coaches here that You know what? This is not me, but somebody over here actually might be a specialist. They are
Mhm.
a subject matter expert.
Yeah.
Let me tap into them, and you can work out, negotiate whatever with them. So I would love to, one, just find out how you found your way into our collective group, and two, how has it improved your business, or how have you been able to leverage your connections with our folks here?
So Reem, um, I'm trying to remember what space I was in that. I think it was something ICFDC related
Okay.
that I met Reem during COVID. Um, I went through cancer treatment during COVID, and I'm good now. I'm
Yeah.
3 years in remission. Hair
Beautiful.
finally grew back. I'm learning this new hair. It's different texture, but we're gonna figure it out. But it is. As a hairdresser's daughter, I have to, because I don't want to be told I'm embarrassing her craft. But mamas tell you really.
I don't think you can embarrass her at all. I'll put it like that. I'll speak on your behalf for that.
Oh, I appreciate that. But I met Reem, and I had been very deliberate. Like, I need to keep myself active. I need to distract myself from treatment. So I was actually, and I had time because we were all home, like, oh, let me jump in this group. Let me jump in that group. So I do think that it was like a DC related, ICF coaching cafe or something like that
Okay.
that we were doing virtually. And I don't remember where or how, but she posted about it. And I was like, I'm curious. So
Hmm.
I joined it because one of the things that had been missing was like a coach's cadre for me. And we were talking about this a little bit before. A couple of the other places I dipped my toes in the water, trying to like find other coach groups that I could hang out with. I found, people were a little coachy.
Hmm.
Right. And it's like, I want authentic relationship. I want authentic collaboration. I want to be able to know folks like behind the title, behind the credentials.
Yeah.
And yes, hopefully look for those spaces where I can collaborate with you, or I can learn from you, or I can refer to you, right? Because I'm a believer that it's not competition, it's collaboration.
Yeah.
There's enough clients out there, enough opportunities out there for everyone to have the seat at the table and a piece of the pie. Not everyone's for me. I've gotten really good at saying we're not a good fit, but I want to refer you to someone who might be, right? So I'm big on that. I did that before when I was just in organizing space. When someone would come and like ask me to do something, like when I was organizing, I was not doing your pantry, your closet, bedroom, your kids, like, no, none of that. So it was clear, and I've created clear lines for me in the same way, where could I coach relationship coaching? Yeah, but do I want to? No.
Right.
Right. So that's where I would be happy to be like, let me help you connect with a relationship coach or whatever their needs are. I don't do DEI work specifically, right? And if there's like a need for DEI focus, great, let me help you find one. So what I loved, I was a part of the community, and then it was a no-brainer when the what's the word? The framework, I guess.
Yeah. The
Changed
membership
to a
space.
paid framework, membership, right?
Yeah.
Because it had already given me value in so many ways, like the connection, the space,
Yeah.
especially for us to talk about what we see as business owners, coaches of color, the work that we're doing. We can just talk openly about it with each other, as you and I have done.
Yeah.
And that's important for us to also have, because that's how we continue our own transformation. And it was a no-brainer. I'm like, okay, well, of course I'm going to do this, because again, investment. Through that, you asked, like, how has the community helped me? First of all, I thank you for all the gems you drop on the speaking opportunities. And I don't believe in coincidence. I've been working with my business coach about looking at um, getting back on stage, getting back into workshops, into that aspect of work. And here comes Alex, like every day, dropping another, like, here's another speaking again, here's another this, here's another that. So just that alone, even if I have a whole thing lined up to go do, like, it's gotten me back into that mindset, and like, okay, I need to start paying attention. Let me be prepared for that,
Yeah.
so that when they ask me how I heard, like, I'm going to come correct and represent the fact that you were, how I learned through it. Sabrina dropped in the group a few months ago
Yeah.
about, her work at home, HQ, and does anyone speak or train? I have had so much fun. It doesn't feel like work. What she and Hone are doing as a community of learning has been incredible and so amazing that it's like, well, of course, I'm happy to do it. That relationship would not have happened for me if it hadn't been for our community here. So I thank you and leadership a lot for creating this space where we can thrive and grow and communicate and collaborate as coaches of color. It's
Wow,
amazing.
beautiful. Thank you so much. Yeah, it, it you know, it doesn't sound so corny. Like it warms my heart, but it does. It really does like validate that, because this is one of the reasons why we built this. Not only just to help coaches of color build up and improve their coaching skills, right? That's important, right? Being a good coach is going to be your number one billboard, the work you do, the impact you make, but also now the business of coaching. How do
Mhm.
we leverage each other? How do we grow that network and circulate wealth? That's
Yeah.
when you can have those two things, be good at what you do and have a great time doing it with people that are excited as you, and make good income. Come on, win-win. Everybody wins.
It's been amazing. And I tell you, some of just even the dialogue, like when a couple of times folks have like thrown questions in the group, how do you guys handle so and so? And I love the feedback because it's another way of looking at, oh, okay, that's another way that I can handle that from the business sense. But
Right.
even in how we respond to each other, right? It's just perspective, it's appreciation of when you show up with genuine desire to help and support someone else, as opposed to that icky spammy feeling that sometimes happens in groups.
Right.
Not this group, but listen, my neighborhood HOA group, they can't stop it, right? So that's a subject for they started a messy boots group out of that, and that's just been, I'm like, unnecessary. But yeah, I love that space because even you see the caliber of people, and it's just really, for me, it's been like, oh, okay, I want to get to know that person a little bit more, just because of like the way they answer shows me their character. And I have really enjoyed every conversation I've had with everyone as a part of the group and organization. And even the chance to connect with folks like Kenyana, I've connected with her, and
Yeah, she's
you know,
awesome.
there's just so many different ways to learn and touch base and grow and develop and be reflective, which has been nice.
Yeah, and like I said, you are somebody who adds to that, to this ingredient of our BIPOC pie, right? You are definitely shared your sprinkles of knowledge, of commitment and character, and that's always valued, and it never goes out of style.
Honored.
So we
Thank you.
appreciate you. So it's been an awesome conversation, and I would love for folks to find out how to connect with you, how to learn more about your work, and possibly hire you for some work. So how do we connect with you, Nicole?
Well, thankfully there are not a lot of Nicole Chamblins out there. So if you go to NicoleChamblin.com, you will find me. You can connect with me on LinkedIn, also under the same name. And I would be excited for folks, if you want to ask any questions, or you would like to work or collaborate, that would always be a great experience.
Fantastic. That is awesome. Do you have any final thoughts? Any last words of wisdom? Anything you want to speak into this space that we haven't shared yet?
Um, I think probably the biggest lesson, I'm a believer in how can we learn from this? How can I learn? How can I grow?
Mhm.
And that's the mindset I try to bring to everything. And even my cancer journey, I was having a conversation with my kid just last night about it. Like, if we can look at even like the worst circumstances in life and think, how do I learn? How do I grow? What's my takeaway?
Yeah.
Then you're going to continue leveling up. And at the end of the day, we are here to be beings, right? We're beings, not doings. It's not about what we do, it's about who we are, and you will be a better person for that experience. So I'm excited and honored to contribute to everyone's growth in the community in any way that I can. If you ever need someone to talk to, vent with, whatever, I can listen. I'm your girl. I'm here for you.
I know that's from my heart, and we appreciate it. And that is that. That is a wrap. So, Nicole, thank you. Grateful for you. Grateful for your connection, your contribution, and send in wishes for continued blessings and your success too. and your
Thank
family.
you so much, Alex. And again, thank you to you and Reem and the leadership for creating this amazing space. It's filled like a nice little pocket that I've needed for so long. So y'all won't get rid of me. I'm in it. I appreciate it. Thank
All
you
right.
so much.
No worries. And for all you listening, see you next month. Take care. Stay blessed. Till next time. Thanks for watching this episode. If you got value from this, please subscribe and leave a rating and review. And feel free to connect with us at bipocc.org. See you next time.